the weight of legacy. Pat slumped against the cold stone wall of a deserted alley in central Athens, his breath coming in short, ragged bursts. The neon glow of a distant streetlight barely illuminated his trembling hands, still smeared with the faint, golden shimmer left by his blade. It wasn't blood. It never was when dealing with those tied to the divine. That fleeting radiance was a reminder of what he was, what he had done, and what he could never escape. He buried his face in his hands, the weight of the evening pressing down on him like armor he couldn't remove. His chest felt hollow, as if all the air had been sucked from the world. The assassin had been neutralized, and Octavian the Fourth was alive, for now. But Pat's mind churned with doubt. Why had he hesitated? Why had he saved the descendant of the very bloodline his family was cursed to destroy? The face of his mother flashed in his mind, stern and resolute, her voice echoing in the endless chambers of his memory. "You were born for this, Patroclus. The gods chose us for a purpose." Never question that. Pat had grown up hearing the tales. Achilles' wrath, his unmatched strength, his indomitable will, and of course the bond he'd shared with the original Patroclus, a friendship so profound that it had transcended mortality. His name was both a blessing and a chain, an unbreakable link to a man who had died to fuel Achilles' rage. Yet Pat wasn't Achilles. He was human, fragile, flawed, haunted. Every decision he made seemed to deepen the chasm between the man he was and the legacy he was expected to uphold. Pat's earliest memories were of pain and discipline. The bloodline of Achilles had long been aware of its role in the world, and each generation raised its heirs to fulfill the curse. For Pat, that meant an upbringing devoid of normalcy. While other children played, he trained. While other teenagers sought love, he honed his body and mind into a weapon. By 18, he was an elite soldier, recruited into shadowy organizations that didn't officially exist. His instructors marveled at his reflexes, his uncanny ability to anticipate danger, and his almost superhuman endurance. But they didn't know the truth, that his gifts were the remnants of Achilles' essence, an echo of divine strength passed down through the ages. For years, Pat excelled, thriving in the chaos of combat and espionage. Missions blurred together, a whirlwind of faces, names, and kills. Each success brought him closer to the inevitability of his true purpose, hunting the descendants of Apollo. But beneath the surface, cracks began to form. The nightmares started in his 20s, visions of a burning city, of Achilles dragging Hector's body behind his chariot, of Patroclus falling beneath a Trojan spear. The line between his own thoughts and the memories of his ancestor blurred, leaving him questioning who he truly was. Tonight the questions felt sharper than ever. As he sat in the alley, his mind replayed the moment he saved Octavian. His body had moved instinctively, but why? Was it duty, guilt, or something deeper? He pulled out the notebook passed down through his family. Its leather cover was worn smooth, its pages filled with accounts of battles, victories, and deaths. One passage written by his grandfather stood out. "The curse is clear. We exist to end the line of Apollo, yet I wonder if the gods revel in watching us suffer as much as they do our enemies. Achilles fought for glory, but what do we fight for? What does this cycle of bloodshed achieve other than prolonging their cruel game?" Pat slammed the notebook shut, his frustration bubbling over. His whole life had been shaped by a prophecy he hadn't chosen. Was he merely a puppet, his strings pulled by the long-dead gods of Olympus? Or was there a way to break free from this endless cycle of violence? His phone buzzed in his pocket, snapping him back to the present. It was Thetis. "Thetis, report. Did you complete the mission?" He stared at the screen for a long time, his thumb hovering over the keyboard. Finally, he typed back, "Pat, no, Octavian lives." The reply was immediate. Thetis, you jeopardize everything. You have one purpose, Patroclus. Fulfill it. Pat threw the phone against the wall, the screen shattering on impact. For the first time in years, he let the emotions overwhelm him. Anger, sorrow, confusion. He clenched his fists, his voice a ragged whisper. What if I don't want this? What if I'm more than a weapon? The questions that remain. The faint sound of footsteps pulled him from his thoughts. A shadow loomed at the entrance to the alley, a figure stepping into the dim light. It was Octavian, his golden hair disheveled, but his expression calm. You saved me, Octavian said, his voice steady. But you're not here to protect me, are you? Pat stood, his body tensing. I don't know what I'm here for anymore. Octavian studied him, his gaze piercing. Maybe it's time we stop letting the gods decide. Pat didn't reply, but the words hung in the air, heavy with possibility. For the first time he wondered if Octavian might be right. Perhaps the old curses could be broken, not through violence, but through defiance. As the two men faced each other, their shared lineage binding them like a thread of fate, the winds of Athens carried a whisper from the heavens. The gods were watching, their amusement tempered by unease. The game was shifting, and the players were no longer content to follow the rules. For Pat, one question burned brighter than the rest. What happens when you refuse to be a pawn? Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe for more of this journey.